Okay, going back to how we go about buying products, e-commerce and m-commerce. M-commerce means mobile commerce, e-commerce means electronic commerce, sometimes just referred to as just shopping online. Okay, online sales have grown massively over the last decade or so, and people seem to buy an increasing amount of things online as opposed to going to physical shops. Whether that's going to lead to 100% decline in the high street, I think some people will always want to go and visit and see some products, maybe like furniture or clothes for important occasions and things like that. But maybe for sort of casual clothes and things like that, you are going to see a decline in those kind of shops for sure. It can be really good for businesses because it generally, it can help you gain more customers because you're reaching more. It does mean there's probably more competition, but it does get you to sort of meet more customers. The way that you can potentially advertise has become cheaper without you spending sort of large sums of money, and it means smaller businesses can operate on a sort of even a global level or a national level, as opposed to just a sort of a small regional shop that you would maybe have if you'd going back sort of 30 or 40 years ago. It means for the potential customers, you are able to almost find exactly what you need. You can use websites to compare prices and so on. Okay. There are a few disadvantages, and there is an argument that it can lead to fewer jobs, but it leads to fewer certain jobs. So you're probably going to see a decline in people working in high street shops, but you may be going to see an increase of people working in these sort of Amazon fulfillment centers. Okay, so yes, it's going to lead to fewer jobs, but the argument would be made that those jobs are going to get reappropriated somewhere else. Okay. If a business isn't particularly competitive with their prices, okay, and aren't keeping their costs low, then they are often going to be the ones who suffer because customers can compare prices really easily now, okay, and our sort of short-term costs created in sort of setting up all these things and maybe additional training to deal with online shopping, but in the long run, you probably do see a lesser amount of costs. Okay, the way we communicate has changed. The way we interact with businesses, probably going back 15 years ago, you used to get a lot more emails about coming to check out a shop or with offers and stuff like that. But that's more changed now with social media advertising, particularly with things like Instagram influencers and so on. Okay, so the way that we interact and communicate and the way businesses interact and communicate with us has most definitely changed. And if businesses aren't able to have sort of a good online presence and maybe a good interaction with online influencers, they're going to get left behind. And you've seen the rise of certain businesses because of their interaction with this new way of advertising. So you could probably say that websites like Boohoo, Fashion Nova, they wouldn't have the success that they're having without having embraced this new way of communicating with your customers. Okay. Okay, yeah, like I said in the previous slide, the way social media has changed and how we interact with customers. And if you're unable to have a good online presence, often it can have a negative impact upon your sales. That was touched on in the previous slide. Again, touched on the previous slide. Okay, so you can pause this and do the questions now if you want. Okay, so general advantages of new technology. It can lead to an increase in sales and higher profits, but there can be some disadvantages. It can see an increase in particularly short-term costs. You see a loss in certain kind of jobs and the closure of high street shops. And there is a sort of security issue. These businesses have loads of information about you. They have your credit card details, your address, and so on. So there are issues surrounding website security. Again, this goes into a bit more detail about disadvantages. Okay. So next, bit more detail. Okay, so just to finish off on these questions then, so what I want to make sure that you do is that you're you're covering the key terms, and you are answering all the questions, and get that finished and written up in your book to return for the first lesson back, which I think is the first Tuesday, the 5th of January. Thank you very much for listening. Merry Christmas.